Relation between distributive property and factoring. I'm Anil Kumar, and with the help of few examples, I will show you how these things are related. When we apply distributive property, it is kind of writing like this. You multiply your product of two things. Let us say x plus 3y times 2. So when we write an expression in the product form, which is like this, 2 times within bracket x plus 3y. Now we can always expand it by multiplying both the terms inside the bracket by 2, and that is what we call distributive property, right? So as you know, distributive property is you need to multiply by the number outside with each and every term inside the bracket. So what you really get is 2x plus 3y in this particular case. Well, at times we could have something like this, 3a times, let us say 2a minus 3b. Now in this case, if I apply distributive property, I need to multiply 3a with 2a. 3 times 2 is 6, so we get 6a times a is a square, right? Exponent loss. Now 3 times minus 3b gives us minus 9a times b. So that is what you get. Now let's take one more example, and let us say we have half times 6x minus 4, right? So when you do distributive property, you need to multiply 6x and minus 4 by half. That means divide these by 2. So what do you get? 6x divided by 2 or multiplied by half is 3x, and minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. So that step which we have done here is distributive property. So we multiplied both the terms inside the bracket by the term outside the bracket. So that is what we understand by distributive property. So whenever we are applying distributive property, what are we doing? We are changing from product to sum or difference. Now let's understand what is factoring. Factoring is kind of reverse. It is from sum or difference to product. That is what factoring is. Now with these examples, let us go back to the original by applying factoring techniques. Okay, well, we did a mistake here. 2 times 3 is 6, so this is indeed wrong. It is 6y. Okay, now let's apply the factoring techniques and see how distributive property and factoring is related. So we have here 2x plus 6y. As you can see, between numbers 2 and 6, 2 is a common factor, right? So now we will factor. Since 2 is common, we can actually, let me write it in 2 steps. It is 2x plus 6 could be written as 2 times 3 times y, right? This is what happens when you multiply inside terms by 2. You get 2 times x and 2 times 3 times y. Do you see that? Now here clearly you can see 2 is a common factor, so I can write 2 outside the bracket. Inside I'm left with x plus 2y, right? So that is our original expression. So we get back the original expression. So distributive property followed by factoring gives us our expression back. Let's check this property again. 6a square minus 9ab square. Now in this case, 6a square basically, and here we have 9ab square. I can write 6 as 2 times 3 and a square as a times a. And I'll have 9, which is 3 times 3, and then I have a times b. As you can see, 3a is a common factor. So we can factor 3a. We get 2 times a in the first term minus 3b in the second. Now that is the original expression, correct? Now in this case, we really don't have any common factor if we start with 3x minus 2. But if you really want the original expression from here, then what can you do? You can take half outside and get the original expression. Well, when we are doing factoring, then we may get examples like this. 3x minus 2. As you can see, 3x is 3 times x and minus 2. That means 2 times 1. We do not have any common factor. So we will say this cannot be factored. So in this case, we say factoring is not possible. So in factoring, we really avoid factoring out fractions if whole numbers are given to us. If fractions are given to us, then we will factor, but not if whole numbers are given to us. And that makes this example unique and interesting. I hope you appreciate the point. So every time, whenever you apply distributive property and factor, you'll always get your original term back. But there are times when, especially when we are multiplying by fractions, we may not, since it is not a normal practice to factor fractions if we are working with whole numbers, right? But if you are working with fractions, we will factor fractions. So we'll have some examples based on factoring with fractions, which will help you understand this topic better. Thank you and all the best.